YouTubers, hi, I'm back with the 25 books 2025, calling this in March in Great Yarmouth, but gonna be sent out in November. So Wicked Part 2 comes out, and I thought I'd go back to the classic. I read this book when I was a little girl, and now I just thought I'd reread it because you know, film's coming out, and I thought let's go back to the roots. Anyway, interesting too because Gregory Maguire famously said he based Wicked on the book The Wizard of Oz, which was then in the public domain, and the film is not for several more years. Yes, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Now, by the way, I'm going to put down the links. A really good YouTuber I absolutely love called Dominic Noble, who did a fantastic video actually going to the lengths how Wicked, the book, The Wizard of Oz, sorry, Wicked the book, Wicked the film, Wizard of Oz the book, and Wizard of Oz the film are totally different. Anyway, this book, I got it for £1 in a charity shop, and I couldn't get the label off, sadly, so I've got to stay. And the only thing it says on the back is true courage is facing danger when you're afraid. We all know the plot. You've all seen the film. I wonder, okay, in 1938, okay, did people walk out of the cinema saying, "Oh God, the book is way better than this film"? The Wizard of Oz is an absolute classic, and I absolutely love the Wizard of Oz. It's one of my favorite films. I can quote the film. I absolutely adore it. The Witch of the West, played by Margaret Hamilton, is my idol. I base my life on her teachings. She's fantastic. I love her. Anyway, this book was written 125 years ago, and it's such a classic, and it is a quintessential American classic book by Frank L. Baum, or Elphaba, which is how the Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz got her name, Wicked, so he got her name. Anyway, Greg Maguire said he based it on this. He did not. He did not. Don't come at me. Anyway, it starts off with Dorothy's life in Kansas, and one thing I loved is it also shows how crap sack Dorothy Gale's life is. She can get the last name Gale for several more books. This bit here. When Aunt Em came there to live, she was a young, pretty wife. The sun and the wind had changed her too. They'd taken the sparkle from her eyes and left them a sober grey, and had taken the red from her cheeks and lips, and they were grey also. She was thin and gaunt and never smiled now. When Dorothy, who was an orphan, first came to her, Aunt Em had been so startled by the child's laughter, and she would scream and press her hands upon her heart whenever Dorothy's merry voice reached her ears. I showed at the little girl with such wonder that she could find anything to laugh at. Now, the three guys who become the Scarecrows, so it's Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Woodman, they're not in this book. That was a very long invention. So, Hickory, Jack, and Huck, sorry, they're not in this, okay, at all. And it also shows how crapsack Dorothy's life really is in Oz. Absolutely. However, we all know the cyclone hits, she's spun up in the air, and landed on a dead witch, and now suddenly everything is in Technicolor. Got from sepia. It's not black and white, it's sepia, incidentally, the Technicolor. Okay. And also, incidentally too, now, things like the Munchkins, now when I associate that with individuals with dwarfism, that is also a film invention. And when it describes the Munchkins, now that has actually been carried into Wicked the film, okay, where Bock wears blue. Blue is a symbolizes the Munchkins. Their actual height is they're in around 5 foot, okay, 5 foot, basically the same height as Dorothy. And here we are. Three were men and one was a woman, and all were oddly dressed. They wore hats that rose to a point above their heads, with little bells around the brims that tinkled sweetly as they moved. The hats of the men were blue, the woman's hat was white, and she wore a white gown that hung in pleats on her shoulders. Right. Around it were sparkles like stars that glistened like the sun like diamonds. Men were dressed in blue, the same shade of their hats, and well polished with a deep royal blue at the top. So they wear a lot of blue, and that is carried on with Bock, okay, in Wicked. Just before I mention that, Bock in Wicked wears a kind of a blue motif. So, and I actually believe that Dorothy is a leader because she's wears a blue and white gingham dress. Okay, the famous blue and white gingham dress. And one thing is also mentioned once again by Dominic Noble is Oz is a matriarchal world. Okay, here we are, and this is when the Good Witch of the North, Glinda, shows up. Okay, and here we are. There are only 4 witches in the land of Oz, and 2 of them who live in the north and south are good witches. This I know is true, for I one myself cannot be mistaken. Those who dwelt in the east and west are indeed wicked, but now you've killed one of them, that is one, the wicked witch in the land of Oz, the one who lives in the west. Here you go. So, and she's like, well, you need to go to the wizard, okay? And after she gets these silver shoes, not ruby. That was a thing that was invented for the film, which is also now copyright. So that's just why in Wicked the shoes were silver because they are in the original book. However, the box was red, ruby red. Did you kind of notice that? And at one point during Popular, Glinda grabs a pair of ruby shoes and clicks them 3 times. There you go. You'd kind of allude to that. Here you go. And also, the actual Witch of the West, my idol Margaret Hampton, doesn't show up till further along in this book too. It's very, very interesting. Here we are. She was so old, explained the Witch of the North, that she dried up quickly in the sun. That is the end of her. But the silver shoes are yours, and you had them to wear. She reached down and picked up the shoes, and shaking the dust out of them, handed them to Dorothy. The Witch of the West was proud of these silver shoes. There's some charm connected with them, but what it is we never knew. I don't know, darling. Click them together 3 times, so there's no place like home. Yeah, yeah, okay, absolutely. So we know the story. Dorothy goes off on a journey, okay, and then this little bit here, just thought I'd mention it because Greg and Maguire. Yeah, here you go. Dorothy ate a hearty supper and was waited on by a rich munchkin who his name was Bock. He sat upon a great settee and watched the people dance. A Bock saw her silver shoes and he said, "You must be a great sorceress." I just want to mention Bock in a mention. Bock who's going to later on become the Tin Man, okay? Oh, sorry, okay, if you haven't seen Wicked, it's spoilers. It's spoilers. And also, when she finally is on the journey, okay, and she actually meets a Scarecrow, Tin Woodman, and also Cowardly Lion, okay? Um, One thing I absolutely love is she goes on a little journey, follow Yellow Big Road and that kind of stuff. Is when she meets them, even they call it out why the hell she wants to go back to Kansas in the first place. She describes it as being a total derelict hellhole, okay, of farms and plains and dust. And this bit here from the Scarecrow. Now we all know, okay, that they all knew, or the three guys all had brains, of courage, and heart, okay. But this bit here. I can't understand why you want to live, so you leave this beautiful country and go back to the dry, grey place you call Kansas. That's because you have no brains, answered the girl. No matter how dreary and grey our homes are, we people of flesh and blood would rather live there than any country, be ever it so beautiful. There's no place like home. Right. It's like, yeah, I kind of don't understand it, but hey, my head is stuffed with straw, so I guess I don't understand it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So she goes on, she meets the Scarecrow, Timber's Woman, and the Cowardly Lion, okay? And it kind of happens exactly as it is. She's like, well, the wizard will come to us, he'll grant us our wishes. We're going to go to the Wizard of Oz, and he's going to grant us our dreams to have a courage, heart, and brains, and get me home. And this bit here, right, is when Katie come to the poppy field. Aren't they beautiful? The girl asked as she breathed in the spicy scent of the bright flowers. I suppose so. When I have brains, I should probably like them better. If only I had a heart, I should love them, said the Tin Woodsman. I always did like flowers, said the Lion. They seem so helpless and frail, but none in the forest as bright as these. Well, I don't actually live in a forest, incidentally, but anyway, hey, it's Oz. Anything can happen in Oz, it's the land of Oz. So it's kind of like these guys just give themselves excuses to, if I had one, I would. It's kind of like, you do anyway. I mean, it's like they have excuses to get not to have these things and actually acknowledge them. It's like further along, okay, they get all what they need is a form of objects. It's kind of like, I was just granting you permission, okay, to feel and think. Wrongly, by the way. The thing, okay, the scarecrow actually says about sausage triangle is actually wrong. So, so here we are. And then when I get to Oz, is they have to put on green spectacles. Now, Oz from a distance appears emerald. It's the Emerald City, okay? The Wizard of Oz land, the Emerald City, sorry, appears emerald. However, as soon as they get in, they have to wear these special glasses. That is not carried off in the film or any subsequent films because it's ridiculous. Essentially, the idea is it's so goddamn bright that it will blind you. You must wear these glasses all the time. I mean, all the time. So in a way, Oz, then we all know, okay, Oz is a fraud. He's Oscar Diggs from Kansas himself. It came over in a balloon. It got lost. Okay, that's not a spoiler here, right? The film's only been out, okay, for like at this juncture, over 85 years. So yeah, it's not really spoiler territory. And it is the film Oz the Great and Powerful, by the way. Listen, I know my Wizard of Oz. Okay, I've seen probably every incarnation, every interpretation. I absolutely love the Wiz, by the way. I think that one's great. So yes, so when it comes to Wizard of Oz, I actually know what I'm talking about. So here we are. Here it is. We've told that Oz is a good wizard, so he is, and he rules the Emerald City wisely and well. For those who are not honest, who have approached him from curiosity, it is most terrible, and few have ever dared to ask to see his face. I'm the guardian of the gates, and since you demand to see the great Oz, I must take you to his palace, but first I must put on his spectacles. Now, the gate guy at the beginning, that's actually played by Frank Morgan. That's played by Frank Morgan, who also he has 5 different roles in the actual film. So, yeah, they got their money's worth out of their Frank Morgan, whatsoever. They put on the spectacles, because if you did not wear spectacles, the brightness and glow of the Emerald City will blind you. Even those who live in the city must wear spectacles night and day. I mean, night and day, basically, Oscar Diggs, the Wizard of Oz, has now gaslighted the citizens of the Emerald City, okay? Because, yeah, that's what he is. He's a gaslighter. He's an absolute gaslighter. And one thing is this, right, is when it comes to, they have to go up separately. Now, in the film, The Wizard of Oz, it's only one is the head. Just the head, right? In this, Oz actually screws up badly. Every time they go on different days to meet Oz, right, they'll say the same thing. Now, Dorothy sees a head. A big head, the head from the film. Scarecrow is a lady who tells him to kill the Witch of the West, okay, which is meant for the Tin Man because he hasn't got a heart. The Tin Man, it gets a beast, which is meant for the lion, and the lion gets a ball of fire, which is meant for the Scarecrow, because the Scarecrow is terrified of fire, and how about a little fire, Scarecrow? But one thing I absolutely love, remember this book came out in 1900s, is Dorothy, who's like 10 years old, Peppa Judy Garland in the film, yes, okay, is not take the broomstick of the Witch of the West, okay, or the Wicked Witch of the West. She's told to kill her. 10 years old, and you're told to basically go to the Wicked Witch of the West, who's no one managed to kill so far. Listen, dropping a house key on a Witch of the East, okay, that was an accident, okay. He didn't mean to kill her, right? He didn't mean to kill Nessa Rose and steal her shoes. Here you go. What must I do, asked the girl. Kill the Wicked Witch of the West, but I cannot, explained Dorothy, greatly surprised. You killed the Witch of the West, and you wear the silver shoes which bear powerful charm. There's no one but the Wicked Witch left in all this land, and when you tell me she's dead, I'll send you back to Kansas, but not before. Okay. And, well, she's freaking the hell out about this. I mean, why you just ask a 10-year-old girl to... She's a double murderer. One was accidental. Okay. Now, interesting too. Now, okay. Now you finally get on chapter 12, The Wicked Witch of the West. The Stuff of Nightmares, played by Margaret Hamilton, who I absolutely adore, and she's fantastic, and she didn't age, by the way. There's a thing, I'm going to put it in the links to, is of her when she appeared on Sesame Street. That was like 30 years after. She hasn't aged a day, okay? She was only in her mid-30s when she actually got the Wizard of Oz gig, okay? Which had been her favourite book since she was a child, by the way, because the book came out in the 1900s, and she was in her 30s. It's been out for over 30 years at this point. Is when you get description of the Witch of the West, the Stuff of Nightmares. Now, the Wicked Witch of the West had but one eye, was powerful as a telescope, and could see everywhere. So as she sat in the door of a castle, she happened to look around and see Dorothy lying asleep with her friends all around her. They were a long distance off, but the Wicked Witch was angry to find them in her country. So she blew upon a silver whistle and hung around her neck. Okay? And she gets the walls to tell them apart. And also, okay, she has a magic cap, which are flying monkeys, that summons the flying monkeys. But that's the Witch of the West, okay? She's short, she wears a pointed hat. She is not described as having green skin, because that was an invention for the film. That's a film invention. And she appears on chapter 12, not earlier on between that. Not, I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too. So, no, so, yes, that's the Wicked Witch of the West. Right. That is the Wicked Witch of the West. And also, little things too about the Witch of the West is she's terrified of the dark. And also the shoes which won't get out Dorothy's feet, she takes them off all the goddamn time. There you go. Now, the Witch of the West had a great longing to have for her own the silver shoes which the girl always wore. Her bees and her crows and her walls were lined in heaps of drying up, and she had to use up the power of the golden cap. But if she could get hold of the silver shoes, they would give her more power than any of the things she had lost. Oh, she sends, okay, there's a bit in the actual film. I'm sending a little insect, okay, a little bug after them. That was a deleted scene called the Dilla bug. It can be found online. So she has this golden cap which actually grants 3 wishes. Okay, which she used them all up. So then her wolves and her bees and her crows to come after the actual um group, but and Toto. Okay, but she watched Dorothy carefully to see if she ever took off her shoes, thinking she might steal them. But Charlotte was so proud of her pretty shoes, she never took them off except at night and when she took her bath, which was too much afraid of the dark to dare go into Dorothy's room at night to take the shoes, and her dread of water was greater than the fear of the dark, and she never came near when Dorothy was bathing. Indeed, the old witch never touched water, not even let water touch her in any way. Right. So the Witch of the West comes after Dorothy after she's taken her shoes off because the Witch of the West is scared of the dark. This is the Wicked Witch of the West, by the way, and she's scared of the dark. Here you go. She managed to get one of the shoes off Dorothy, and this bit here. I will not, for it is now my shoe and not yours. You are a wicked creature, cried Dorothy. You have no right to take my shoe from me. I shall keep it just the same, and some day I will get the other shoe one from you too. This made Dorothy so angry, she picked up the bucket of water that stood near and dashed it over the witch, wetting her from head to foot. Instantly, the wicked woman gave a loud cry of fear, and as Dorothy looked to her in wonder, the witch began to shrink and fall away. See what you've done? Did you know water would be the end of me? And of course, Dorothy didn't know. She's freaking out. But I generally like it. Doesn't carry a lot in other media. Actually, though, the witch with the glass eye, by the way, one eye. Do Muppets Wizard of Oz got that right? That's a perfect description of the one from the actual Muppet Wizard of Oz. By the way, they're probably one of the only descriptions. Okay, and then she melts. But the thing is, we are only a third of the book left. There's more to that. Now Dorothy has got to go to Glinda, right, to ask her to send her home. That's the thing. It's such an interesting kind of diversion from the film and the ones that come later. Doesn't matter what version you use. Basically, every single film version that came out post the 1930 version, okay, with Judy Garland, follows on from the film. However, the book is so different. The book has more to it. I mean, she has to go back to Oz, okay, and say, we killed her, can I go home now? And it's like, no. Just ignore the man behind the curtain. Here you go. Right. And one thing I don't really like about Dorothy in this version, and that does carry obviously a lot in also the Judy Garland one, is Dorothy kind of gets to the point where she's had enough of everyone's shit. She basically turns around and says to the wizard, you send me home right now. And it's like, well, ignore the man behind the curtain, okay? The lion thought he might be able to frighten the wizard, so he gave a loud roar, which was so fierce and dreadful that Toto jumped away from him in alarm and tipped over the screen that stood in the corner. All fell with a crash, for they stood just in the spot the screen had hidden, an old man with a bald head and a wrinkled face, who seemed to be much surprised as they were. The Tin Man, raising his axe, rushed towards the little man and cried out, "Who are you?" "I am Oz the Great and Terrible. But don't strike me, please, please don't. I'll do anything you want me to do." And it's like, here you go. Right. Fortunately, the witches of the north and south were good, and I knew it would do me no harm. The witches of the east and west were terribly wicked, and they had not thought I was more powerful than themselves. They would surely destroy me. As it was, I lived in deadly fear of them for many years, so you can imagine how pleased I was when I heard your house had fallen in the wicked witch of the west. When it came to me, I was willing to promise you anything if you would do away with the other witch. But now that you have melted her, I'm ashamed to say I can no longer keep my promises. Right. I think you are a very bad man, said Dorothy. Oh no, my dear, I'm a very good man. I'm a very bad wizard, I must admit. And then the wizard gives them all their tokens and their little bits, okay, and like they suddenly become smart and have courage and feel love and all that kind of thing. But now, okay, as Oz can't do anything for them, forget about Oz, okay? They're now gonna go to Glinda to try to get home. Go to Glinda. And they go through the dainty China country where actually they meet the little China girl who was in Oz the Great and Powerful. Okay, but okay, the journey continues, and it's quite interesting too because you think in a way it's an ending for tea. The climax of this book is the Wizard of Oz. And when that's done with, when they have to move on to get Glinda to take her home, this book kind of feels like ending for tea, but this is more about now. Dominic Noble, in his really great review, mentioned that Oz is a matriarchy. It's a matriarchal world. However, the death of the two of them, the death has left a power vacuum, an absolute power vacuum. And in the end, as they're going through, okay, the lion becomes the king of the beast by fighting a giant spider, okay, and the Tin Man becomes the leader of the Winkies, and the Scarecrow becomes the ruler of the Emerald City. So, in a way, even though Oz has been a matriarchal world of these four witches governing like the four kingdoms, now there's not. Now, the Scarecrow and the Tin Man are going to become rulers themselves. Now, interesting too, okay, is the whole thing with the Wizard of Oz, especially with comparison to Wicked, is the whole thing is Elphaba is the only one with green skin. That's why I guess she's an outcast. However, the Winkies, right, also have green skin. The guards of the castle, okay, which the trio break into, okay, to actually rescue Dorothy, they're all green. Green is not a big deal in this country, right? Because no one has green skin in this country whatsoever. Not even the Wicked Witch of the West. Right. And also is how they become powerful. Is the lion shows his courage, right? When they're going through the forest. Here you go. To get rid of a mighty spider. Shelob, okay? Hey, I'm not saying okay, talking red, okay, but giant spiders are kind of thing in fantasy. Here we are. The lion thought for a moment. Okay, are there ever lions in this forest? He asked. No, there was some, but the monster has eaten them. If I put an end to your enemy, will you bow down to me and obey me as king of the forest? We'll glad you that, cried the tiger, and the other beasts roared in a mighty roar, we will. So he comes in and saves the day, okay, and becomes king of the forest. He basically demands, I will get rid of this giant spider, and you'll become king of the forest. Right. Okay. If you will. It's like forcing their way into power. Right, basically causing a power vacuum in Oz. What's the lion's qualifications? I got a mighty one, a lot of courage now because of wear an object. Here you go. But then, this is most interesting, is when you actually do meet Glinda, the good witch. It's on like the final chapter. Now, I'm going back to the Wizard of Oz the film. As I said before, I love Wizard of Oz the film. Now, Margaret Hamilton, who's in her early 30s, so who was contacted by an agent for a partner Wizard of Oz. Now, she was a goddamn powerhouse. Basically, Margaret Hamilton did not mean to become an actress. She was a single mother, she was divorced. She was a school teacher previously, but she had to raise money to raise her son. She was badly injured on the set of The Wizard of Oz, by the way. Badly injured. She actually suffered burns. And then her stunt double, Betty Danko, actually was left with appalling injuries whilst on set too. It's a goddamn horror story, the making of that film. Is she was surprised when her agent contacted her and said, you're down for part for Wizard of Oz. And she was delighted. She even said, you're my favourite book since I was a little girl. What part? And the agent said, The Witch. And she's like, The Witch? And the agent was like, yeah, sure, what else? It's like, this bit here. Now, Glinda, the Good Witch, has her own kingdom, is very, very powerful, has an army, is in control of everything. I generally think Margaret Hamilton first assumed she might be playing Glinda. Just here. This is meeting Glinda. When they're all quite presentable, they follow the soldiers. So soldier girl. See, this is a world, okay, where women are in the army. It's a female-led army. It's a matriarchal world. The soldier girl entered a big room where the witch Glinda sat upon a throne of rubies. Ruby slippers. This is where the idea for the ruby slippers comes from. She was both beautiful and young to the eyes. Her hair was a rich red in colour and fell in flowing ringlets over her shoulders. Her dress was pure white, but her eyes were blue and they looked kindly upon the little girl. What can I do for you, my child? Dorothy told the witch of her story, how the cyclone had brought her to the land of Oz, how she found her companions, and the most wonderful adventures they had met with. My greatest wish now is to get back to Kansas. For Aunt Em, surely thinks something dreadful has happened to me. And but thing is, remember that golden cab I mentioned that grants wishes? Whilst they're on this kind of journey, Dorothy's been holding the golden cap to actually get people to actually help her get further along. Glinda wants the golden cap. Glinda wants the golden cap and the 3 wishes. Okay. And so wishes to command the winged monkeys. And yep, it's for here. By means of the golden cap, I should command the winged monkeys to carry you to the gates of the Emerald City, for it would be shameful to deprive the people of their wonderful ruler. Which is for the Scarecrow. Turn to Tin Woodman. What will become of you? Then he said, the Winkies are very kind to me. They wanted me to rule over them after Wicked Witch died. I'm fond of the Winkies, and could get back to the country of the West. I did nothing better than to rule over them forever. My second command to the winged monkeys was that they be carried safely of the land of the Winkies. It may not be so large to look at of the Scarecrow, but really brighter than he is. When you're well polished, I saw that you rule the Winkies wisely and well. Okay, and then the lion goes back to his forest, and then becomes king of the forest. Interesting, isn't it? That suddenly there's 3 companions. One becomes king of the forest. He's now king of the main forest. King of the Winkies, king of the Emerald City. The power struggle is going to develop in Oz. Wars on the horizon, isn't it? These 4 witches, even though okay, they were antagonistic, lived in peace. Well, vaguely with each other. And now, suddenly what? By virtue of okay, by melting, okay, dropping houses someone's head, you're in control. I generally think, okay, it's the silver shoes have wonderful power and they're the most curious thing in the world. They can to any place in this world in 3 steps, and each step's going to be made a wink of an eye. All you have to do is knock your heels together 3 times and command them to choose to carry you wherever you wish to go. If that's wish them to carry me back to Kansas at once. And she kisses everyone goodbye. Take me home to Aunt Em, and that she's home. And lost the shoes in the on the way. Which if you watch Return to Oz, are found by the Gnome King, and then he takes over. So it's brilliant. This book is brilliant. It's published in the 1900s. It's a matriarchal world. Women are in armies. Women are in power. However, in this, it's created a power vacuum. There's so much more to this book. It's considered a great American novel for a reason, and it's fantastic. And I can't help but compare it to the film, but I generally do think, instead of Billy Burke, that's another name, who played Glinda, I generally think Margaret Hamilton thought she was going to play Glinda instead, because such a different character. And I do imagine to see what that would have been like. So anyway, describing that, and describing the Wizard of Oz, and describing Wicked, yeah, Gregory. Anyway, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz by Baum.